The galaxy had never seen anything like it before. Across thousands of worlds, millions of beings sat frozen, their eyes locked onto their screens as a live broadcast played. The XL4 Dominion had done terrible things in the past, but this was something different. The image on the screen showed 50,000 human colonists standing in the middle of a massive open arena. They were surrounded by towering alien warriors clad in dark, metallic armor. The humans, men, women, and even children, were terrified, their faces pale, their bodies trembling. Above them, seated on an elevated throne, was High Warlord Verishkor, leader of the XL4 Dominion. His reptilian features twisted into a cruel smile as he looked down at his prisoners. The galaxy watched in silence, waiting to hear what he had to say. Verishkor's voice boomed across the broadcast. "Let this be a warning." He stood up slowly, his golden cape flowing behind him. "The Dominion does not tolerate defiance. These humans refuse to submit. And so," he gestured to his soldiers, "they will die." A loud gasp rippled through the galactic audience. Even species that had no love for humans shuddered. This was not war. This was a massacre, a message written in blood. In the control rooms of news stations, on the bridges of starships, and in the halls of powerful governments, beings of all races whispered in disbelief. No one had ever seen such brutality broadcasted across the stars. But in one place, the silence was different. On Earth, in the United Earth Defense Command's war room, the highest-ranking officials of humanity watched in complete stillness. Their faces were like stone. No one spoke. No one moved. Only their eyes burned with fury. Among them stood General Marcus Steele, a veteran of many wars. His hands clenched into fists as he listened to the pleas of the prisoners on the screen. Mothers held their children close. Fathers stood in front of their families, trying to shield them. Some of the captives prayed. Others screamed. And then, it began. The XL4 soldiers raised their weapons. Energy rifles hummed to life. The first shot was fired, then another, and another. 50,000 humans fell, their bodies collapsing into the dirt. The screams echoed through the broadcast before the signal cut to black. The galaxy was left in shock. No one dared to speak. No one dared to move. But on Earth, something shifted. Humanity did not cry. They did not beg for justice. They did not ask for help. Instead, a single message was sent out across the stars, directed at every major power, every government, and every XL4 warship still patrolling the universe. It contained only 7 words. You wanted to see us burn. Now, watch us rise. The galaxy held its breath. The massacre of 50,000 innocent humans had been broadcasted across the stars, a brutal display of the XL4 Dominion's cruelty. Many species expected Earth to grieve, to beg for diplomacy, to fear the wrath of the Dominion. But that did not happen. Instead, Earth fell silent, a silence heavier than war drums, colder than the void of space. It was the kind of silence that came before a storm. In the underground war rooms of the United Earth Defense Command, the silence was broken by a single word from General Marcus Steele. Execute Operation Revenant. Across Earth and its colonies, fleets mobilized, war factories roared to life, and elite soldiers sharpened their blades. The universe had no idea what was coming. The XL4 Dominion believed humanity to be weak, a species of words, not war. But they had made one terrible mistake. They had taught humans how to hate. The first retaliation came in the dead of night. A XL4 fleet patrolling the outer colonies vanished without a trace. No distress signals, no wreckage, just gone. The second strike was even worse. On a Dominion-occupied planet, a XL4 command base collapsed from the inside. Security footage showed nothing, only flickering lights, panicked screams, and then silence. Rumors spread. The XL4 warlords whispered of ghosts in the dark. Dominion officers reported weapons failing mid-battle, fleets turning against themselves, warlords disappearing overnight. And then, across every screen in the Dominion's capital, a message appeared. A human voice. Cold, unforgiving, unstoppable. You took 50,000 of ours. We will take everything from you. Panic spread through the HFY Dominion like wildfire. For centuries, they had ruled through fear and domination, crushing anyone who dared resist. But now, for the first time, they were the ones afraid. Their warships began to disappear, entire battalions vanishing without a single distress call. Their communication networks collapsed, hacked by an unknown force. Supply routes burned, their cargo ships reduced to drifting wreckage. No one knew where the attacks were coming from. No fleets were detected. No soldiers were seen. It was as if shadows themselves had turned against the Dominion. High Warlord Varish Kor sat in his war chamber, his claws digging into the armrests of his throne. His advisors stood before him, trembling. "Who is responsible for this?" he growled. The room was silent. Then one of his generals, barely able to keep his voice steady, spoke. "It's the humans, my lord. They are hunting us." Kor slammed his fist against the table. Impossible. He had seen the humans beg for mercy before. They were weak. They feared war. But then the room darkened. The holographic screens around them flickered to life, showing a single figure. A human. A woman with cold, steel-gray eyes. She wore no armor, carried no weapons, but her presence alone sent chills down the spines of the Dominion's most ruthless warriors. "Varish Kor," she said, her voice calm, yet carrying the weight of death itself. "You made a mistake." Kor bared his fangs. "Who are you?" The woman tilted her head slightly, as if amused. "You don't know me, but you will remember me." Then the screens shattered into static, and in that same instant, alarms blared across the capital. Explosions erupted in the heart of the Dominion. The Ghost Fleet had arrived. The Dominion's capital burned. Explosions rocked the towering spires of Salthoria, the heart of the Empire. Fires spread through the streets, and terrified citizens ran for shelter. The mighty war fleets that once ruled the stars now floated in ruins above the planet, torn apart by an enemy they never saw coming. It wasn't an invasion. It wasn't a battle. It was an execution. The Ghost Fleet had arrived without warning. No ships had been detected, no signals intercepted. But the moment the Dominion's high command saw the first explosion, they knew. The humans had come. High Warlord Varish Kor stood at the window of his palace, watching his empire fall apart. His generals shouted behind him, demanding orders. His elite warriors scrambled to mount a defense. But it was already too late. The Ghost Fleet had disabled planetary defenses in seconds, hacking into the Dominion systems as if they were child's play. The elite human operatives, clad in advanced stealth armor, moved through the streets like shadows, taking out Xal-4 commanders with silent precision. And then, the broadcast began. Across the entire Dominion, on every screen, a message appeared. A human voice, cold and emotionless. The same woman from before. "We warned you." A clip played. The massacre of 50,000 humans. Their screams. Their deaths. Then the voice returned. "This is our answer." One by one, the screens cut to live feeds. Dominion warlords, generals, and high-ranking officials dragged from their hiding places, their pleas for mercy ignored. The galaxy watched as, one by one, the monsters who had once ruled without fear were eliminated. Varish Kor's claws trembled as he took a step back. For the first time in his life, he understood what it meant to feel true terror. The hunt was not over. They were coming for him next. Varish Kor ran. The mighty High Warlord of the Xal-4 Dominion, once feared across the galaxy, now fled like a cornered animal. His elite guards surrounded him as they pushed through the burning corridors of his palace. The air was thick with smoke, and the screams of his people echoed through the halls. He had underestimated them, the humans. They hadn't fought like any enemy before. They didn't march in armies, didn't issue ultimatums. They struck like ghosts, destroying everything before anyone even knew they were there. Fleet after fleet had fallen, warlords executed, entire Dominion strongholds erased from existence. And now, the humans had come for him. Kor's breathing was ragged as his guards led him deeper underground, into the secret tunnels beneath the palace. There, a single escape ship waited, a last resort, meant only for the warlord himself. One of his generals, covered in burns and blood, turned to him. "We can regroup, my lord," he stammered. "We can rebuild." A single gunshot rang out. The general collapsed, a bullet clean through his skull. Kor froze. His guards spun around, weapons raised, but they saw nothing. No attackers, no movement, only shadows. Then the lights flickered. One by one, the guards vanished, dragged into the darkness, their screams cut short. Kor stood alone now, his chest rising and falling rapidly. His hand shook as he pulled out his communicator, desperately trying to call for backup. Static. Then a voice. Her voice. "There is no one left to save you, Kor." His blood turned to ice. Slowly, he turned around. She was there. The human woman with the cold, steel-gray eyes. No armor. No visible weapons. Just death itself standing before him. She took a step forward. Kor stumbled back, his claws trembling as he raised his energy pistol. He fired. Nothing. The gun had been disabled. The woman tilted her head slightly, almost as if she were amused. Then she spoke. "Do you remember their screams?" Kor's breath caught in his throat. He did. The 50,000 humans he had executed. He remembered their screams. She took another step closer. "Now, it's your turn." The broadcast cut to black. And across the galaxy, the reign of the Xal 4 Dominion ended with silence. The galaxy was silent. For the first time in centuries, there was no Xal 4 warlord barking orders, no Dominion fleets patrolling the stars, no fear of their brutal rule. The Empire had fallen. The last broadcast had been washed by trillions. The image of High Warlord Varishkor, the most powerful being in the Dominion, reduced to nothing but a trembling, helpless creature, moments before the screen went dark. No one knew exactly what happened to him. No body was ever found. No survivors from his palace remained. But the message was clear. The humans had finished what they started. Now, the universe held its breath, waiting for what came next. Would humanity replace the Dominion? Would they demand submission, tribute, or vengeance? But Earth did none of those things. Instead, a final message was transmitted. It appeared on screens across every remaining Dominion world, in every council chamber, in every warlord's bunker. A simple recording. The same woman, the one who had led the destruction of the Dominion. Her steel-gray eyes stared directly into the camera, her expression cold, unreadable. "This is not a conquest." She let those words hang in the air. The galaxy listened. "This is justice." Then she leaned forward slightly. Her next words sent chills through every species that heard them. "Remember this day. Remember what happens when you cross humanity." The screen flickered. The broadcast ended. And with it, so did the fear of the Dominion. But a new fear had taken its place. The fear of Earth. The galaxy had changed. Where once the Xal 4 Dominion ruled with an iron fist, now there was only silence. Their fleets had been erased. Their warlords had been hunted down, one by one. The empire that had crushed countless civilizations no longer existed, and it was humanity that had done it. In the aftermath, the rulers of other species gathered in secret, whispering among themselves. What would Earth do now? Would they take the Dominion's place? Would they demand tribute, enslave worlds, expand their power? But Earth did something no one expected. They did nothing. No human fleets arrived to claim territory. No demands were made. No new empire was formed. Instead, Earth sent a single message to the galactic community. "We are not conquerors, but we will never forget. With that, the ghost fleet vanished, its ships retreating into the black void of space. No one knew where they went. No one could track them. But everyone knew they were still watching. And from that day forward, the galaxy had a new rule, one that no species dared to break. No one touches Earth. Not because of diplomacy, not because of treaties, but because they had all seen what happens when humanity is pushed too far.